Welcome to Brewsers, a podcast about beer, coffee, booze, and bruisers. I am your host, Rody John, and today we speak to C.W. Anderson. We talk all about baseball, ECW, and mental health. This is such a fun interview. C.W. Anderson opens up and talks to us about things that I have not heard him talk about on other podcasts, and I was so happy to be able to allow him this platform to open up and hopefully helping out so many other people that do have mental health issues. And, you know, you're not alone. There is somebody to talk to. We're all here for you. So thank you again, and I can't wait for you guys to hear this wonderful interview with CW. But first, make sure to go sign up for our newsletter. You get even more information about our guests, you get fun facts, and you get to find out what's happening with your favorite podcast all about beer, coffee, booze, and bruisers. So without further ado, here is C.W. Anderson. How are you doing today, sir?
John, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing well. How are you, Mr. CW?
Old and tired.
Aren't we all?
You don't realize how you're not 20-something anymore when you have, as one of my buddies has described it, 2 Mondays on a Wednesday.
Yeah. And then, also, if you sneeze too hard, maybe you'll pull your back out for an entire week.
Oh, 100%. Woke up the other day and
Yeah.
I guess I was fighting a tiger in my sleep and woke with all kinds of beat up.
And no matter how much stretching or popping you do, it still doesn't help.
It doesn't. Nothing works. And I just envy. I was watching something on TikTok the other day, and these guys, because on my feed in TikTok, baseball catchers come through because that's what I was growing up. And those guys squatting down and throwing from their knees and stuff. And I'm like, how are you not hurting? And I realized I didn't hurt when I was that age.
Right.
Able to do a split and throw to second base, and I'd be in the hospital now if I tried to do that.
Well, so, I mean, as you're hearing, I'm having a wonderful beginning of a conversation with C.W. Anderson. And I want to get into the baseball part almost more than your wrestling career, because I played baseball for about 4 years. I was on the Texas Rangers grounds crew for 5 years, and I've just been a baseball fan my entire life. So,
right.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out where I want to start. I guess, when did you start playing baseball?
I was 4 years old. My dad and his brothers all played baseball. My mom, her sister, and her 2 brothers, which of course they played softball, but her brothers all played baseball.
Jeez.
And I was the first of the litter, so to speak. So I guess I got all their good genes, because I remember growing up and my uncles would throw to me, and I would throw to them. And I didn't realize, I still remember I was 11 years old, 10 or 11 years old, let's just say 11. And I was playing Little League Baseball, and it was a team called the Tabernacle Spirits. And the reason was Tabernacle is a church. It's a church right down the road from us called Tabernacle. And a lot of us went there, so we just kind of used the Spirits. Anyway, we were playing on a softball field. The fence was 300 feet, and we were a Little League team, and I was playing second base, and somebody hit it over my right fielder. He ran to the fence. I ran in the outfield and threw it from basically his right field to home plate, and it never touched the ground at like 11 years old. That's when I didn't really put it together that I had an arm. I was a quarterback, and at 12 years, 11, 12 years old, I could throw it almost 60 yards, 55, 60 yards. Because our football field was only 40 yards, and then it went down, so it wasn't like a normal football field, and I could stand in a 40-yard line and throw it in the back of the end zone. No problem.
Yeah, so I played outfield in Little League, and I did pretty good about getting past the third baseman whenever getting to home plate. But from what I heard, you just did a straight line, which mine was more of an arc rainbow. Yours was a straight line from outfield to home base.
Yeah, it probably had a little bit of an arc, but I do know by the time I got in high school, I could stand at home plate and throw it on the left field fence, and it wouldn't be a line. It would be a little bit of an arc, but not much. They used to come and watch us take infield because they loved watching me. Some of the fans, they'd get there early and watch us take an infield because they loved watching me throw to second base. I've broken guys' hands. Even a few years ago, playing softball, my brother was a first baseman, and I broke his thumb throwing from my knees from third base.
Yeah, so I've heard you still play softball, right?
I haven't played in a few years, probably about 3 or 4 years, because I've been wrestling a lot more lately. And when I was younger and trying to make my name in wrestling, I would play softball tournaments all weekend, and then I would leave, while we were still playing. I'd go and wrestle and then come back on Sunday and play again. I did that a lot. And played up until, I think I played up until like when this past marriage I had, when it fell apart, I kind of just stopped playing softball, and just focused more with wrestling. It was hurting to run a little bit more. It was hurting to run because, of all the my ankle damage, because I got to have my ankle replaced. I found that out last year.
Whoa.
It's, from the time I was 8 years old until 23, I was a catcher, and,
that'll do it. Yeah.
So it was that abuse, and then getting into wrestling, the abuse of that. And when I started going to Japan, I started doing a lot of kicks and strikes because of their strong style over there. So that didn't really help matters either. But I don't watch as much baseball like I used to. I mean, I don't watch hardly any TV, but I loved baseball. I loved being a catcher. The guy that nicknamed or give me the CW nickname told guys one day, he said that I was one of the best catchers he ever seen, and this was when I was like in early high school, and they're like, yeah, for his age, right? And he goes, no. And he was a really baseball connoisseur.
Right.
I got all those compliments, and I just knew I had a strong arm. I had white boy speed, so I wasn't great. I had an average bat. I know when I tried out for the Braves, after the Padres thing fell through in high school, when my mom talked me out of, when I got drafted and she talked me out of signing, I went and tried out for the Braves at the DPAC, the Durham part where they filmed Bull Durham at. And they had all the position players line up and run, and I outrun every catcher. I'm like, how slow do you have to be if I'm outrunning every catcher?
Now you see the catchers now where they'll paint their fingernails and they'll do different things for hand signals. None of that was going on whenever you were catching. That was just very old school and very, like, I imagine the padding wasn't even obviously close to what it is.
No, I didn't have the knee guards that were on the back of the shin guards. They hadn't even started, like my catchers, my mask wasn't the hockey style. It was the hat backwards, which I love that style because I don't think I would have liked the fact that when I threw down on second base, that jerk that we did, the helmet staying on. I like the fact that the helmet came off. I never even thought about painting my nails like that, but what I would do was I would go, once we get ready to start the game and the first batter, I would take my hand and hit the chalk. I'd turn my hand over and hit the chalk. So my fingers were, a little bit lighter.
That's smart.
But, and then I didn't never have I've seen the guys wear the wrist guards. I never had that.
Yeah.
I did wear the long, wristbands though, and I had my number on because I was such a mark for Benito Santiago. I copied his number. I even got him tattooed on my inner leg, on my inner ankle. His 92 All-Star Donruss card where he's throwing from his knees. I had that tattoo.
Man, did you get a chance to meet him?
The closest I've gotten to actually meeting him or talking to him was a friend of mine that lives in Florida. Messaged me one day. He was in the airport flying somewhere. He says, "You'll never guess who I'm at the bar sitting beside." And I didn't believe him until he actually took a picture with Benito. I actually sent him my card, and he told Benito about me. So Benny thought that was cool. I wish I could have gotten to talk to him. You know, if I'd have been smart enough, I'd have told John to put him on, you know, call me and let me talk to him.
Yeah,
but
at least.
I was kind of freaking out that he was actually sitting beside Benito.
Now, growing up in North Carolina, how did the Padres of all teams become your team, or was it just him as a catcher and what he was doing?
When I knew nothing about him. I literally live on the same farm that I grew up on when we moved here in the early 80s. So I still live on the same horse farm with my family. I live just up the hill. We didn't get cable, which was a satellite that was stuck 20 foot in the air till I was 23.
Oh, yeah.
And to show you how back we are in the woods, so to speak, this Friday is the first time that I'm getting fiber internet. Like before, it's been either DSL, it was dial-up before that, and then I've had to spend almost $200 a month to get in this stuff where you beam it off a radio tower, a cell tower. That's the internet. That's as fast as I can get here. And Friday's the first time I get fiber. That shows you how far back I live. So I never got to watch a lot of baseball unless it came on the 3 channels of TV. And my first recollection of Benito was my senior year it was probably my senior year when he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated and they called him the man with the golden gun. And then I started learning about him, and that's when I started throwing from my knees and adapting everything, because that's the one thing, the gift I had was throwing. And when they talked about how strong his arm was and throwing from his knees, I just fell in love with him and started copying this out. Then in the early 90s, when we got satellite, I was watching him every chance I got, if he was playing the Braves, or I could find him on one of the sports channels that was showing the Padres. So that's how they kind of became my team. And it was crazy before that when they're the ones that drafted me, because we were at a all-star game my senior year, and they come just scouting, and they were really interested in our pitcher. But I was throwing from my knees to second base harder than he was throwing to me.
Oh, wow.
And that's where the interest came in. I never knew how hard I could throw until they clocked me at 90 from my knees.
Yeah, I had heard you talk about how your mom kind of talked you out of it. And, you mentioned you're, an impressionable young man. And obviously, your mom, you look to your parents for guidance. And it makes sense that, you're like, okay, well, maybe I should just go to college and just do it that way.
I never made waves with her. I never, I was the same. Almost to the day, it's the same way. I never really got in trouble as a kid. I got my whippings and beatings here because,
of course,
from all my family, even granddad, grandparents, the whole 9 yards. But when I try to think about that, what I could have become as a baseball player, I would have never became C.W. Anderson and never got this ride.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. Like, as much as obviously, it happens in everyone's lives, really, that things happen where years later you'll look back and be like, what if I would have gone this other way? Or what if things would have gone this way? Like, it's nice to think that, but, you have to look at where you are now. Like, would you still have the friends now? Would you still have the family you have now? Would you still have whatever you have around you now? Like, sure, it could be better, but everything could be better in life.
Oh, of course. Every day I wake up on the right side of the dirt, I'm okay with it.
Exactly. I think that if somebody asks me how I'm doing, I'm like, well, I woke up today, so that's a plus.
Yeah. In 2005 when I had liver failure and I didn't think I was going to live, I have my days where I don't appreciate it as much as I should, but
of course.
I remember riding down because I live on the outside of Raleigh, but I was living in Raleigh at the time, and I was riding through Raleigh, seeing people walk their dog or something down the street, and they were laughing, and I'm like, here I am not knowing whether I'm going to live, and these